Hey y'all, welcome back to Samantha's Beauty Confessions. Today I am going to be doing a solo episode, and I'm very excited to record this one because it's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. And I know that it was something that I struggled with too for a long, long time. And that is productivity. I think that, with people's busy lives and so many people wanting to take on more, we have to figure out how we can fit more into our daily lives. And the only way to really do that, we're not going to be able to add hours to the day or anything like that. So we have to figure out how to manage our time so that we can be more productive. So over the last, I don't know, maybe year-ish, I would say year and a half, I have really tried to stick to a specific schedule as far as managing my time, and it's been really, really helpful for me. For years, I feel like I was, searching for the answers online, and spoiler alert, there are so many different opinions on this, and so I don't know, I thought it would be fun to share what's been working for me with all of you so that you're able to take some of these things and apply it to your own life. I divided this into three different categories, I guess, just so that it stays organized as much as possible. And the first category is, in order to be productive, you have to have a clear mind and a clean space, right? And so one of the things that I have learned is that in order to clear my mind, I have to physically get a piece of paper and a pen, and I have to do like a brain dump every night or I do it at night. I guess you could do it in the morning too, but I prefer to do it in the evenings while I've got, all the things in my head that are going to ultimately like keep me up, keep me from falling asleep so quick. And so I will just get a pen and paper and I will just jot everything down that I'm thinking about. This could be something that I have coming up in 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever. If it's in my head, I have found that getting it out on paper is so helpful. It helps me fall asleep quicker. It helps me, I don't know, visually seeing things is really, really helpful for me, I've found. So if you don't do this, I highly suggest it. And then what you do with that brain dump list is I like to, the next morning when I sit down to work, I will prioritize that list. And that way I know what items I need to accomplish that day. Now, I don't want to make it seem as if I always accomplish my entire to-do list, because that is not the case. But as long as I have something that I can look at and refer back to and keep myself accountable, I have found that that is so, so helpful for me personally. The next thing that I have found that helps me clear my head is to go on a walk. And the little catch here is going on a walk without your cell phone is going to make your mind so much more clear than if you go on a walk and listen to music or a podcast or whatever. While I would love if you went on a walk and listened to my podcast, I promise you that like just having that clear head and that clear mind and being out in the sun and just getting all of the benefits of that, it's going to help you unlock this level of thought and of creativity that's going to, I don't know, really help you with the prioritizing your schedule, with really figuring out what needs to be done, what you've been putting off. You just have a clear thought process. And whenever somebody first told me about this, I was like, I can't go walking without my phone. Like, what if someone kidnaps me? And I promise, like, if you live in an unsafe area or you just feel more comfortable, take your phone and put it on like a band or put it in your pocket or whatever, but don't listen to anything. Basically, our brains are not designed to constantly be having stuff going through our ears. When that happens, it's almost like our computers. When we open up 1,000 different tabs, the computer starts to slow down because it's over processed, like it can't function correctly. And it's no different with our brain. So if we give our brains time to reset by going on a walk and specifically being out in the natural sunlight, like two amazing things for us. And if we're doing these at the same time, like you're going to feel so fresh and so clear when you get back. Try it. Trust me on that. The next thing that I want to mention is you have to also make sure that you are eliminating negativity from your life. You can't have a clear mind if you're constantly being fed negative information. This could be from the news. This could be from friends and family. This could be from coworkers. Whatever you feel is just like draining you, try to eliminate that as much as possible from your day-to-day life, because we do become like the 5 people that we hang out with the most. And so if we are constantly putting ourselves in situations with people who always see the glass half empty and people who have this like rain cloud following them every single place that they go, this is going to eventually rub off on us and affect our mental state. And whenever you are putting all of those negative thoughts in your brain, it goes back to what I was saying just a second ago. You aren't able to function properly. You aren't able to be as creative and as productive as you would if you were clear and free of all of those thoughts. So I know that it is hard to put boundaries in place, but you can do it in a way where it doesn't seem as if you're just like cutting somebody out of your life, but you're just kind of cutting back on the amount of time that you're spending with that person. The next thing is your mind is clear. You've decluttered all of that. Now you want to make sure that your space is clear, your workspace, that it is decluttered. It is a clean environment to work in, because again, all of the messes around us are going to, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, it's going to affect how productive we are able to be. So during the pandemic, people were, I think, finding it hard to concentrate because of the fact that they weren't having a boss to report to. They weren't going in front of people in like that office setting. And they were like, okay, well, I'm just going to take full advantage of this and work in my pajamas from my bed. And that all sounds great. However, I think that, we are all creatures of habit. Like we all like routine, whether we want to believe it or not. And so whenever you, for the last, 10, 20 years, however long you've been in the workplace, whenever you're used to getting up at a specific time and having this routine that you do, and then getting ready and getting dressed and going in and, clocking in and seeing people, and then you throw all of that off, it's only natural for that to put like a dent into your productivity abilities. Like you're not going to be as, on task, I guess, as you would be if you were going into the workplace. So I feel like if you are someone, I know a lot of people still are working from home from the pandemic. And so if this is you, and if you are guilty of trying to work in your pajamas and finding yourself not as motivated or productive, I highly encourage you to stick to the routine you used to do. And it's been a few years, I know, but so it may be hard for you to like get back into that routine, but I'm almost certain that if you are able to do it, you will see a drastic change in how much you're able to get done throughout the day. The other thing too, is you want to make sure that you have a specific area to work in, because at our homes, like we're not made to work there. And so there are a lot of distractions, whether it be, cleaning, or I feel like I used to get distracted when I worked at home from if the mail would come, then I would go get the package, bring it in, unpack it. Then I would want to like put it up, and I would notice that maybe like my cabinets needed organized a little bit, and my ADD would kick in, and I would just spend way too much time doing all of the things that I didn't need to do and not doing the things that I did. And so really making sure that you have these specific hours, even though you're technically like responsible for yourself at this time, no one else is overlooking you and checking up, but just staying strong and staying on track is going to make a huge difference. You also want to make sure that the workspace that you have provided for yourself is clean and free of clutter. So if you're somebody who has a million, different pens or notepads or whatever, try to get something on your desk to organize all of that, because I feel like, especially if you're like me and have ADD, if you're trying to work on something and you can't stop thinking about like the mess that's underneath your hands, that's going to be distracting. So anything that you can do to free yourself of clutter and free yourself of the mess that's going to deter you from your goals. Also, last tip before I move on to the next one, make sure that you have all of the things at your desk too. So if you need a stapler, if you need highlighters, if you need notepads or pencils or whatever you need, make sure that you have everything right there. Because again, the more that you're getting up and going and searching for things, the more likely you are to get distracted on your way to get said thing. Okay. So, next up on my list is you want to make sure that you are limiting the amount of time that you're on your phone during the workday. And I know this can sound kind of like a no-brainer to some people, but if we really sat down and like jotted out or thought about how much time that we are spending on our phones throughout the day and we're not even aware of it, I think that people would seriously be in shock. I know that I probably would. So what I have found that's helped me, because for me personally, like I work from my phone. And so me not having my phone around me while I'm working is almost impossible because I'm editing videos or I'm filming videos. And I have to have my phone to do that. I don't have like a camera or anything that I use. So I do everything from the phone. But what I have found that's helped me is I turn off all of my notifications, because if I'm editing a video and something is constantly popping up at the top of my screen, I'm subconsciously going elsewhere in my brain and I am not focused on the task at hand. Again, we are not made to have a bunch of tabs open at one time. So making ourselves not available during the work hours is a huge game changer. Another thing that you can do is you can set up a focus time on your phone, like do not disturb. And you can really customize this to where if you want to make it where only your boss can reach you, you can set that up. You can set up the times that the do not disturb is on. You can allow your emails to come through if that's something that you want to do. Whatever works best for you, like whatever things you're needing to be notified of throughout the day, that's going to vary from person to person. But I know for me, I was getting so many notifications from apps like, I don't know, Uber or Uber Eats or something like that, that wasn't anything like urgent. And so I went into my settings, turned all that off, and it's made a huge, huge difference. I am somebody who, this is a little excessive, but I'm somebody who actually turns off my text message notifications and my phone calls during the do not disturbs. And I will just check those like a couple of different times a day if I feel like it. Sometimes I don't check them until like the evenings, which anyone who text messages me, you all know that that is 1000% true, because I am not great at returning text because I get so sidetracked. And so like that's something else that you can choose to customize in your focus thing or your do not disturb settings. But basically the goal here is multitasking. I think that we hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm a great multitasker." And that was something that I used to pride myself in a while back, like I don't know, 3-4 years ago. While I am a good multitasker, that's not really like something to be proud of, in my opinion, anymore, because when you're multitasking, you're really not giving 100% of your attention to anything. So, yes, I could be checking my text messages while, doing my makeup, but I'm going to have more typos, or I'm going to forget what the person was asking me, or I don't know any other examples to use, but you get what I'm saying. If you are doing things that your brain is trying to jump here to there and everywhere, we're not programmed to do that. There are, however, specific instances where multitasking is okay. I want to share those with you as well, because this has really been a game changer for me too. And that is if I'm going to get a pedicure or something where, my hands are free, I will return all of my emails. I will return client messages. I will do all of the things like that while I'm getting a pedicure. And that multitasking is productive. So if you're somebody who gets, routine pedicures, or I'm trying to think of anything else like that, maybe like a facial or something where you can hold your phone in your hand, you are able to multitask and get back to emails and messages and stuff like that during those times, because the pedicure or the facial or whatever, those things are not requiring your attention. They're not requiring your brain to be thinking. But the emails and the texts are. So you're able to focus on that one thing while still getting something done that's like this routine thing you do, right? So definitely try that out. Let's think of a name for that maybe. That's called productive multitasking. We'll coin that term. Another thing too, speaking of your phone, is that during the first hour of our morning, try, if you can, to avoid, even if it's 30 minutes, try to avoid being on your phone during the first 30 minutes of your morning. Because what I found is I used to post every morning, like at 7 to 8 a.m. And so what I would do is I would wake up and I would instantly get on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever I was posting on. And I would like write out my captions. I would find the music for the song, for the video. And I would try to do everything immediately when I woke up. And what I found was that the rest of my day, I just felt really anxious. My heart was like, I could feel it beating faster. And anybody who has like, I don't know, anxiety, I guess, or anybody who's ever felt like that rushed feeling, that is what I was feeling like immediately upon waking up in the morning. And when that happens, I feel like my cortisol for the day was just shot. And every single thing that I did from that point forward, I feel like I was just overwhelmed. I was doing it from an overwhelmed place. And that's never healthy, right? And so this wasn't even that long ago. Honestly, I think this was just like 3-4 months ago, maybe. I was just sitting there thinking, I cannot go on like this. I'm either going to have to stop posting on Instagram completely, or I'm going to have to figure something else out. And, we hear all the time that these apps and stuff like consistency. And so I did this like routine for probably 3 years. And one day I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not able to get anything else done in my day because I'm so worked up about having to post immediately upon waking up. And so what I chose to do is I now post like at 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. So I have my morning to take things a little slower and to wake up and to, listen to like positive podcasts or audiobooks or whatever I want to listen to, or go on a walk if I want to. And all of these things help to set the tone for my morning. So if you're like me, like I used to be, and you're somebody who is immediately opening up your phone the second your alarm goes off, because again, most of us probably have our alarms on our phones. So we already have it in our hand, and it's just like our habits. We don't even think about it. We just scroll over to social media, open it up, and then we get lost in this rabbit hole, and we're subconsciously comparing, and then our whole day is set. And you can't be productive when you're feeling overwhelmed immediately upon opening your eyes, right? So try that out and let me know how that works for all of you. The next thing is to use a calendar. So this can either be a physical planner, or maybe you want this big wall planner, or I prefer Google Calendars. Whatever it is that you prefer, the idea here is having things written down out in front of you and having a schedule to follow, and just being able to visually see everything week to week or month to month is going to allow you to be in control of your schedule instead of allowing your schedule to be in control of you. And I always give this example, but my mom is somebody who does a ton of different things, and she's really busy. And for the life of me, I don't understand this, but she does not use a planner. Like she literally just remembers stuff. Well, that's not normal. Like she is a special type of person in her brain. Most people can't do that. So what I had to do is I used to be someone who liked writing things down on a physical planner. I mentioned earlier, I like the brain dump. I like the act of taking a pen, putting it on paper, and writing everything down. So the busier that I got, I felt like it got more and more difficult for me to use a written planner, because I was having to move appointments, or I was having to switch clients or whatever. And even if I used a pencil, it just started looking messy, right? And then when I would open it up to look at it for my week or my day or whatever, I would be like, just have this off-put feeling. Like I wouldn't want to have anything to do with that mess, because for me, I like things to look visually appealing. That helps me stay on track. If it doesn't look, you can't function in dysfunction, is what I always like to say. So what I found is Google Calendar has been a huge game changer for me, because it's never going to look messy. Even if you have to change things 20 times, it's always going to stay nice, clean, and organized. Another thing that I love about Google Calendar is that I'm able to access it at any point. As long as I have my phone with me, which, let's be real, we always have our phone, I'm able to look at my schedule at any point, at any place, at any time. And that has really, really helped me to just be able to, I don't know, not feel like I'm having to like worry about keeping up with this book. I used to try to carry my planner with me in my purse, and that just became a whole deal in and of itself. So I love Google Calendar. I do want to mention that it is a little bit difficult to get in the hang of in the beginning, especially if you're somebody like I was who used a physical planner. But once you figure it out, there are so many videos out there, like on YouTube and stuff. Once you figure things out, it is so simple. It's just kind of the setup process of getting everything like you want it. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about how I utilize it. So one of the main things I love about it is you can color code your calendar. So what I do is each thing that I have put down, which trust me, I put down literally everything. So I put everything in a different color based off the category. So my workouts are in yellow. Then I have any like appointments or calls or anything like that in red so that I see that bold from the beginning. I have birthdays in a pink color. I have my personal things in purple. And then I have like bills and stuff like that in green. The goal here is that when I open it up, I can see things and my brain registers like, okay, today I see yellow, green, and blue. So I know I have this, and this going on. So that's really helpful because you start to relate things to colors, and it's just crazy how our brains work to me. But what else I really like about it is it allows you to set up reminders. And what's cool about this is like birthdays. So like I know John's birthday, I know my mom's birthday, I know people's birthdays, but I feel like I don't always know what day it is in the actual day. So I know John's birthday, for example, is June 9th. But like on June 7th, I may not realize that it is June 7th, if that makes sense. I always joke and say that like now that I'm not in school and writing the date at the top of my paper, I really don't ever like remember what the actual date is. But with Google Calendar, you're able to go in and set up a reminder a week in advance. So for birthdays, that gives you 7 days in advance to go buy a card or buy a present or whatever you need to do. And you're not feeling that sense of like rush or urgency that I mentioned earlier, where your heart starts beating fast and you just feel super anxious. Those are the feelings we're trying to avoid. And the reminders on Google Calendar are very, very beneficial to help avoid this. Another thing you can do is you can invite people to your calendar. So anything that I add to my calendar that is going to include John or include a family member or whatever you need to do, you can have it notify them as well. So that way they're not texting you constantly like, hey, what time was the birthday party tonight? Or what time is the dance recital this weekend? Everything is in that calendar, easily accessible by every single person that you've added to it. So this is perfect for families that have, a bunch of different things going on, like games and recitals and events and stuff. First off, I want to mention hats off to all of you, because I have a hard time managing my own schedule and I'm just one human. So I always am amazed by people who have 2 or 3 children and a spouse to take care of as well. Y'all are awesome. And I hope that you realize how amazing that is that you're able to keep up with all that stuff, because there are people out there like me who have a hard time even taking care of myself. The last thing I want to mention that is really helpful with Google Calendar is you can put descriptions in each of the events if you need to. So for example, if I have a doctor's appointment put in red and I want to put the address, say it's like a new doctor. If I want to put the address in there at the time of booking, that way everything when it notifies me is going to be sent to me in one place. And I'm reminded of where it's at, what time it is, who the doctor is, anything I need to bring with me. And so on and so on. Everything can be put in that one place. And honestly, to eliminate distractions, the more information I can get in one spot, the better for me. I like to use my calendar to batch out my weeks and my days. So let me explain kind of what I mean by that, because if I did not do this, I feel like I know that I would be overwhelmed. So I'm someone who kind of, I don't know, lack of a better term, I wear a lot of different hats in my job. So I work in the salon, I edit videos, I film content, I have to get on a bunch of Zoom calls, whether it be with brands or people that are, potential brands that I'm going to work with. I have to do my client booking, and I do all of these things myself. Now I record podcasts. I do have someone who edits my podcast for me, thank God. But that's the only person that I have helping me. And so what I have found that really, really works for me is to batch out my days. And I find it easier if I am not bouncing from one task to the next. So it's harder for me to come work in the salon all day and then have to go home and record videos to post on my social media. What works better for me is to schedule an entire day. Usually I'll do 1 to 2 days a week in the salon doing clients. Then I will have an entire day where I am filming my content so that I can get ready that day and film as many videos as I can. Then I have a day where I'll try to edit all my videos and get that done. Usually on this day, I'll also write out my captions and stuff like that for the video I'm editing. And then I have a day where I try to schedule all of my calls with whether it be clients or brands or whatever the case is. I try to schedule all of that in one day so that I'm not bouncing from editing a video to taking a call to returning an email to reading a contract. I cannot do that. So all of this podcast, I'm hoping, is going to show you that it's okay if you have these overwhelmed feelings, and it's okay if you feel like, I literally can't do one more thing. Trust me, I 100% can relate to that. However, I mentioned earlier, but we do spend a lot more time than we want to admit on our phones. And so it's more about just like this time batching stuff and figuring out where every hour of your day is going so that you are able to use all 24 hours to in the best way that is going to be the most productive in your life and with your goals. So just to recap, the first one was to declutter both your mind and your space. The second thing was to make sure that you are silencing anything unnecessary throughout the day, whether it's calls, app notifications, whatever, just making yourself not available 24/7. And the third thing is to prioritize your calendar, making sure that you are the one in charge of your life and your calendar is not in charge of you. And then I do have a little bit of a bonus tip to add here, and it kind of goes a little bit with what I was mentioning earlier, but I wanted to do a separate part of this just because it's so, so important. But I mentioned earlier, like eliminating how much you're on your phone, but specifically eliminating who you're following too can really, really help you free your mind. If there's somebody that you follow that is always posting things that make you feel anxious, or if they make you feel like if they're posting a lot of opinions about certain things that you don't agree with and you just don't want to see that stuff on your feed, mute them. If you don't want to unfollow them because maybe they're a good friend of yours or family member, just mute them, because the content that we're consuming and taking in, that is affecting us just as much as having that negative friend in our lives. And we don't need that negativity. So figuring out how to eliminate scrolling and seeing stuff that's negative is really helpful too. I try to think of it like this. Instagram stories are 30 seconds long, right? And if we are consuming, 50 Instagram stories in a day, think of how many minutes that is that we are spending just looking at other people's lives, when we could take those same exact minutes and apply them to making our lives easier, right? So think of it like that next time you sit down to go into this sinkhole of TikTok or Instagram, which, trust me, I'm 1000% guilty of myself, but I am working on this every single day. And the thing that's helped me the most is to just consciously tell myself before I start looking and scrolling, is there anything else that I could be doing? And 9 times out of 10, the answer to that is yes. So one thing too that you can do to help you if you don't have the willpower is you can go into your settings and you can set up app limits, where if you've been on Instagram or TikTok for 2 hours long, even 30 minutes, I would not start with 2 hours. I'd start with 30 minutes. It will shut it down. It will take you out of it. So if you don't have the willpower needed to avoid scrolling, your phone can now help you do that, which is really, really beneficial. Aside from the fact that scrolling on social media is just not good for time management, it also can really take a toll on our ability to be ourselves. So think about it like this. If we are consuming, an hour of scrolling a day, we are seeing tons and tons of different people's creativity online, right? And while that can be fun to watch, if you are a creator yourself like I am, that's actually really harmful to my creative process, because I am almost taking in all these people's quote unquote talent, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's becoming like my thoughts. So then, without even realizing it, when I'm creating videos or thinking about creating videos, I am subconsciously remembering what this person did or that person did. And then I'm kind of losing my own voice creatively, right? And we don't want to do that. So it's really, really beneficial, just like those walks without the AirPods in our ears or the headphones on our ears. It's really beneficial to just sit and be creative, to schedule time to be creative, and to schedule time to set up your planner and to put all of this stuff in your calendar to where you're able to batch it out, to where you're able to have the space for that. Because if you don't allow yourself space to be creative, if you don't allow yourself the space to think about what's next in your business and to think about what's next in your life, then how are you ever going to achieve it? Because I heard this a lot growing up, but like, there's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. You just have to figure out how to make the time to do it. And if we're really open and honest with ourselves, I said this at the beginning of the episode, and I'll end it here with this too. If we are open and honest with ourselves, we are spending so much unnecessary time doing so many unnecessary tasks. And if we ever could take that time back and apply it to our business and our goals, the amount of free time that we would have at the end of each day is going to be life-changing. So I will leave you with that. I hope that this episode is inspiring you to try out these tips for yourself if you haven't already. And if you have any feedback or suggestions of anything else that you might want to add to this that have worked for you, definitely leave a review below or send me a DM on Instagram. I am always looking to again, increase my productivity myself. And I would love to share any of the tips and tricks with the listeners. So thank you all for listening today, and I will talk to you all again next week.